everyone, this is Pojo. Welcome to the Eternal Spoiler Breakdown. We have a new set incoming, and lots of other news as well. So Eternal Chronicles of the Thrones, it's just released. If you are interested in that, it is a deck building game. There's a little thing with like a Curiox avatar and stuff that you can get out of it for Eternal, as well as like it just being probably a pretty sweet game. I haven't played it yet, but I have gotten my copy. We also got an extra copy that we'll be using for a giveaway later on at some point on our stream. I haven't figured out exactly when I'm going to do that yet or how I'm going to do that, but yeah, like that and Clank Legacy are both coming out, and I'm pretty excited for both of those games. But the major news, is that there's a new set. It is called Eternal: The Flame of Zolta, and it is pretty dope looking so far. There's some good art going on right now. We don't really know a lot about it yet, except that it's coming next month, which means probably late next month, assumably late September. But, sometimes they manage this as soon as like the second or third week. There's going to be a spoiler lead up. There will be community spoilers again, so you can buy them with influence, assuming that you can get into the shop, which nobody will be able to do because they sell out in about 1 second. But all the same, if you feel like trying to get a spoiler or like trying to like set up a spoiler for somebody else, that is a thing that you can definitely do. And there was one card that was spoiled for Flame of Zolta, which will give us a couple of hints about what this set might be about. Let's go ahead and show it off. It is... Oop, that's not it. We hid the spoiler, and then we... Yeah, there we go. Okay, so it is Felrok, the Outcast. So we have a 6-cost card, triple blue, triple purple, 5/2 body, but also with the summon ability of the enemy player discards a card from their hand, and that is any card, can include power, can include basically anything, then discards its cost in cards from the top of their deck. So Felrok's body is not amazing, but because it is a 5/2 card, and because it forces the opponent to discard a card from their hand, it is typically going to at least give you some amount of board presence while also always incurring some amount of card advantage, due to the fact that your opponent has to spend at least one card on Felrok, and typically will have to spend 2. Not necessarily what you want to trade in, but overall does provide a decent amount of value. However, it is of course a vulnerable card on board, and general board advantage is not a thing that it's particularly specializing in. It also provides you with some interesting mill. I'm not like super excited about that because I'm not generally excited about mill, but it's still something that you can sort of play around with a little bit. And as long as you have the triple blue, triple purple, you can actually play Felrok from your void as the other ability, which means that if you are milling yourself for any amount, if your opponent has hit you with a Felrok the Outcast, if for some reason you just figure out a way to discard Felrok while also having your standard Feln setup going, then Felrok is going to get you a free card. Your opponent will lose a card for free. And not only that, but you'll have also basically avoided discarding a card, which if you did that from your hand, that could be some sort of like way to turn an advantage into a disadvantage. So you're looking at potentially up to 3 cards worth of advantage in addition to Felrok being out on the board. So you have the free card that you played, the free card that you didn't discard, and the free card that you caused your opponent to discard. So yeah, like 2 or 3 cards of advantage, pretty decent stuff overall. And then like basically this card just allows you to do some pretty ridiculous stuff with card advantage while also providing like sort of a unusual body. That 5/2 is a really, really vulnerable setup, so the main thing about this card is that it's not good against aggro. If your opponents have any sort of void-based strategy, they're going to be very, very happy with this. They're not going to feel unhappy about it at all, and like overall there are certainly a lot of different ways that this can go south for you as well. Felrok has his own vulnerabilities, but he is a really interesting card advantage engine, and he does some cool things. Other things to notice about Felrok. Felrok is Unseen, which is pretty interesting since we have not seen Unseen in Zolta yet, and like it's kind of just neat to see that they are sort of extra planar entities. The new set is going to take place, I think, primarily in Zolta, so we're talking about like sort of a new land, a new world, an entirely new dimension for Eternal, and there's a lot of things that we are going to be seeing that will sort of like give us a bit more of an idea of what's going on with the Shadowlands, with the Radiance, with the Eternal Throne in general, with sort of the whole like dimensional landscape of Eternal as a set, which should be interesting, as a card game. Should be interesting to explore. The other thing that's really important to note about Felrok is that Felrok is a very, very heavy hybrid card. He is 3 purple, 3 blue, which means he's deep, deep, deep in Feln, and also this is like in a a situation where all of the insignias are coming out, but that means that we are no longer looking at what would be, I would say, a monocolored set or a tricolored set, which both of those have been our previous two sets. We saw the set with Quinn and the whole cycle of tricolor legendaries. We saw the set with all of our monocolored legendaries, and then we sort of like had a lot of support for those types of setups where you were often really heavily focusing on one particular color. This is back towards maybe 5 different hybrid colors. You're playing around with different setups, and like I think that we are probably going to be seeing a lot more of that in the spoilers to come. That's just a guess, but judging by like the overall cost of that card, that's not going to be supportable in any sort of set that really encourages monocolored play, and it's also not going to be supportable in any set that's encouraging tricolor. So we're not seeing the next set of tricolors, but we might be seeing like some interesting new Feln stuff and some interesting new other options. So I don't think that the new tricolors are coming in this set, just from Felrog the Outcast, because I don't believe there were any cards of this deep of an influence value in the tricolor set previous, which was Defiance. Yeah, so overall, this card is pretty interesting. He's a really fun Feln card. I like these sort of like unusual vulnerable control strategies. I think there's some cool stuff going on with it. Certainly, there's a lot of different ways to cheat Felrog out, but there may be plenty of reason just to play him as a regular card in a controlled deck because of that discard ability on top of his normal body. This card just spars with a decent amount of stuff. 5 attack is the one thing about this card that maybe makes it a little bit rough. Like if you're getting face down with a lot of big mid-range that's trying to value you out, then forcing your opponent to discard a card only to sacrifice Felrog to like a Sandstorm Titan or something like that isn't really going to get you all that far ahead. But if you're playing against something that's like a little bit lighter mid-range, if you're playing against any sort of setup where basically units have 5 health or less, or your opponents are really, really high on removal and have to actually deal with your sort of aggressive stuff, that's a sort of situation where Felrog will become a lot more beneficial. Once again, yeah, that body's not great, but the overall card advantage on him is, so as long as there are ways to play Felrog that aren't going to lose you the game, Felrog will very quickly get you very far ahead in card advantage, which is one of Feln's sort of general styles. Very dangerous, but generally pretty good at getting a lot of value out, provided that they can arrange the correct order of cards, and Felrog is no different on that front. So yeah, looking forward to seeing more spoilers from Eternal the Flame of Zulta. We will definitely be showing them off as we go along. I also have some new deck brews that we're going to be coming up with. As you may have seen from my completely missing bookshelf, I am moving, so we will be a little bit hectic on schedule for the next couple of days, but hopefully be back on track by Monday, Labor Day, or Tuesday, and be ready to rock and roll with a lot more videos and a lot more Twitch stuff. You can always find me on Twitch. I am also on Patreon, so if you want to help out, especially with the move, and I am here on YouTube as well. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you all next time. Have a lovely evening. Cheers.